Good morning, everyone, and I'm back. So it's good to be back. So welcome everyone to our Heavenly Parent Holy Community Oceania Hundoke. And today, on Saturday, as always, we have Reverend Gregory Stone sharing on this 7th of February 2026, or the 20th of December in the 13th year of Chongal Guk. So thank you all for coming, and let's begin with a bow to our true parents of heaven, earth, and humankind. Chanji Champuminge Kyombai. Paro. And let's recite our family pledge both in Korean and English.
가전맨세 이 전국 주인 우리 가족은 참 사랑을 중심하고 하늘 부모님과 참 부모님을 모시어 전주의 대표적 가정이 되며 중심적 가정이 되어 가정에서는 효자, 국가에서는 춘신, 세계에서는 성인, 전주에서는 선자의 가정의 도리를 완성할 것을 맹세하나이다.
Family pledge number 2. Our family, the owner of Chongyalguk, pledges to represent and become central to heaven and earth by attending the Heavenly Parent and True Parents. We pledge to perfect the dutiful family way of filial sons and daughters in our family, patriots in our nation, saints in the world, and divine sons and daughters in heaven and on earth by centering on true love.
Thank you, and I'd like to share opening prayer. I think you've already been watching or reading this prayer by True Father. Please enlighten us in this hour, given on the 10th of March 1957. Heavenly Parent, we know that at this time it will not do unless our minds and bodies resemble you completely. So please embrace us to your eternal bosom, and in order to realize your will, please let us inherit your heart, which has loved billions of people. And please allow us to realize that this is the time when we must appear with hearts like yours. This land is the land where you toiled and shed blood, and because we know that this land is the land where humankind went, the difficult path of the cross, the land where the people of the world went, the course of Golgotha. Father, please lead us to come to realize by ourselves that what kind of situation we are facing today. If we are going to acknowledge that we are following the footsteps of Jesus's 30-year life of suffering, then please lead us to clearly understand what kind of environment we are living in and what we must hope for and desire. At this time, when the remaining battle of the cross has come right before our eyes, as individuals we know that we must have hearts which are aware that they can push aside all these sufferings and enmities. So heaven, please have pity on us at this time. Please lead us to feel our unworthiness and guide us to feel our inadequacy by ourselves. And we earnestly hope and desire that you will allow this time to become a time when we can shed tears of anguish in front of you, Heavenly Father, lamenting our incompleteness, asking you to take dominion over all things. We have humbly prayed in the name of the Lord. Amen. So I'd like to share this praise song before we welcome up Reverend Stone. So please enjoy.
The name of the song basically says that no matter how difficult the situation here, we can still go, we can go with pride, because we have Heavenly Parent, we have our brothers and sisters, we are proud children of heaven. Let us all have with confidence shine even more brightly and advance forward. 나만 홀로 걷는 것만
같은 후회로 잃어버린 나의 믿음 속에 그저 잊었을 뿐 여전히 우린 그렇게 같은 곳을 향해 걸어가고 있네. 나는 다시 한번 고백합니다. 거친 파도 속에 얹어진 그 두려움 잃어버린 나의 믿음 속에 그저 놓쳤을 뿐 여전히 우린 그렇게 아침에 뒤따라 항해하고 있네. 하늘은 언제나 달빛으로 길을 비추고 폭풍 속의 등대처럼 우리 내일도 타올라라 하늘은 불아 짙은 어둠을 몰아냅시다. 짙은 어둠을 몰아내고 또다시 뜨겁게 너의 시작은 미약하다 그 중심이 장대하리라. 이 찬양과 같이 저희 이 순간에는 어렵고 저희가 미약하게 느껴지더라도 함께 한다면 반드시 끝은 장대하리라 믿습니다.
And are going through difficult, if we, even if it's us, will be able to go till the end.
폭풍 속의 등대처럼 다시 한번 찬양합시다. 타올라라 등불이여 어둠을 몰아내라. 내 시작은 미약하나 그 끝은 장대하리라. 짙은 어둠을 저희의 빛으로 몰아냅니다. 짙은 어둠을 몰아내고 또다시 뜨겁게 사랑스러운 하늘보리의 자녀들아 우리의 시작은 미약하나 그 끝은 신이 장대하리라. 다시 한번 찬양합시다. 아주 믿습니다. 아주
Good morning, everyone. I hope you can hear me okay.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, all good.
That's good. Sorry, I think, John, you might have dropped out or something. Anyway, so yeah, warm greetings to everyone from Korea, from Chongpyeong. So where Reiko and I are doing 40-day workshop. We're on around day 23 or 4 at the moment. So I'd just like to share actually one of the presentations that we heard in the 40-day workshop program. And there's been some really terrific ones. So this is a really good one. I don't know whether I have time to go through the whole lot because it was more like a 2-hour lecture. And also this was from photographs that I took from a few rows back. So it's some of the slides are a little bit not so clear, but hopefully you can see them. And I'll just read through it so we can get an idea of what the lecturer was saying. This is the global sexual revolution and gender mainstreaming. This was by a lady called Shin Jin Young, and she's the director of the Korean Family Counseling Institute. That's her there, and she gave some really terrific insights. So I'd like to begin now. Sorry, this slide is a little bit wonky, but anyway, it's the first slide, the spread of sexual revolution in North America and Oceania. So this was, see the top left one is about Australia. I think probably when they granted equality of homosexual marriage in Australia reasonably recently, also in Germany. The next slide down, bottom left, but also Taiwan and United States. So this is about gender mainstreaming, advocating for a lot of gender equality. But she distinguishes between gender equality is completely different from sex equality. On the left, we've got sex equality is equality between innate males and females, whereas gender equality is really equality among various gender identities created by human beings. As we know, there's like 50, 100, I don't know how many, but LGBTQ, etc., right? So this is gender mainstreaming implementation and how it happens. So she begins with going into the details of this, particularly how it's happened in many nations around the world. And also then she talks about the proper principled understanding of sexuality from God's viewpoint. So let's kind of begin. She begins by talking about neo-Marxism or cultural Marxism, Marxist socialism and Freudian psychoanalysis, and feminism, gender studies. So on the left you have the pictures of Karl Marx and Engels and Stalin and so on, and Lenin. They began Marxism theory through the concept of the exploitation of labor by capitalism. So this was labor liberation. So, they stressed about the inequality between the workers and the owners of the capital, the business leaders, and then they sort of stirred up revolution based on that kind of sort of resentment, if you like. But on the other hand, you have the sexual revolution on the right there. We have repression of sexual desires, oppression of gender-based hatred. So this is like sex liberation. So they talk about now the more neo-Marxism is talking about liberation from sexual oppression. The bottom there, abolition of all sexual taboos, ethics, seeking liberation from sexual oppression. So the emergence of neo-Marxism in Europe and America, this was, she said, due to the disappointment with Marxism, because the original Marxism constructed by, Marx and Engels and Lenin was as I mentioned, the class-based struggle, proletarian revolution of the workers against the owners of the capital, right? So the workers' formation of class consciousness and organizational and unity, bringing about a revolution to overthrow capitalism and then institute socialism. That's kind of the plan, the strategy. But fortunately, I guess there was a failure of historical Marxism, and historical prophecy was that capitalism didn't collapse. There was no advent of socialism. Capitalism gradually improved and developed. So this is what actually happened. So the degeneration of communist ideology. So Stalin's communism after Lenin, and Mao's Chinese communism, variants different from Orthodox Marxism. But, millions of people died, like something 100 million, 150 million people had to be, exterminated under these systems. So people could see this as a failure. Okay, so where did it go from there? Let's just have a look. So one of the key theoreticians for the neo-Marx or the new Marxism was this man called Antonio Gramsci. He lived from 1891 to 1937. He was an Italian, and he was imprisoned, and he had these prison notebooks. Hegemony theory of socialist revolution, war of position, war of maneuver. So, so his idea was a little bit different from Karl Marx and Engels. It wasn't to do with infrastructure, but it was to do with superstructure, more to do with not so much the economy and the modes of production, as Marx was talking about, but the importance of superstructure like government and culture. And so the revolution is not necessarily a violent revolution, which was Marx and Lenin's idea, but was an ideological structure ideological struggle being much more important. Next down, gaining consent from the masses. So the key was to win the masses. So the class rule through consent of the masses via education, law, media, and popular culture. So this was really the seeds of a new version of Marxism, if you like. And this was further developed and by the Frankfurt School and critical theory. One of the key movers and shakers was Herbert Marcuse, a German / American. And so his idea was a total social critique. He gave us total social critique, total negation of existing society, reconstruction of society from a new anthropological perspective. The theory of sexual repression and liberation. Marcuse said that liberation from sexual repression as a driving force of the revolution. Philosophical foundation for the sexual revolution of the 1960s. So yeah, he was saying that, we're repressed, that this expression of repression is through, sexual constraints. And in order for us to be liberated, we need to be, get rid of these sexual constraints. So it's getting closer to the actual fall, the nature of the fall as being, of course, the root of the fall is a sexual misconduct, right, between Adam, Eve, and Lucifer. So this was further developed. Says top here, structuralism, going to post-structuralism, deconstruction, and then to postmodernism. So structuralism is dealing with language, rules, and systems determining meaning. And then post-structuralism is Derrida's deconstruction of existing structures, the emergence of postmodernism, a philosophical sensibility where the philosophical trend of deconstruction expanded across culture, art, politics, and social theory. Deconstruction of universality and essence politics of diversity and difference. So essence that is always true is replaced by emphasis on context, relationships, and differences that we have. So this is expressed a little bit more clearly here, where we have more the clash of paradigms. On the left, we have the Judeo-Christian paradigm, where basically talks about absolute values that are connected to an absolute, unchanging, eternal God, with binding standards, you know, like the 10 Commandments, don't commit adultery, don't commit fornication, you know, don't steal and all that. There's a hierarchy and parental authority. It's based on family. You know, we have to respect the 10 Commandments, say, honor thy father and mother, for example. The binary gender system with just male and female, no other genders. Heterosexuality as the norm, and in fact, that the Bible, Judaism, and Christianity condemn anything other than heterosexual relationship between man and woman. And then spouse and nuclear family centered. And then national sovereignty and representative democracy. Whereas with the postmodern paradigm is different. It's like a free choice of autonomous individuals, equality and gender choice, legal acceptance of all sexual acts, partners and diverse family structures, world government and participatory democracy, cultural diversity and moral relativism. So, oh, by the way, can you still hear me okay, John, Reverend John? And
yeah, I can hear you fine. Yeah, no problem.
Okay, just there's a refrigerator just turned on next to me. I was just wondering if it was disturbing. Okay,
Yes.
good. Okay, so so when we see this this taking hold, this postmodernism taking hold over the last several decades, we have a dilemma of people who resist it. People who hold religious views, for example, and moral views different from this postmodernism. For example, on the left there, you have this lady, economic oppression, dismal to career destruction. So Anne-Marie Calgaro from Minnesota, 2016 to 19, lost a lawsuit concerning parental rights infringement related to her 17-year-old daughter's gender transition treatment. Yeah, so yeah, she was penalized, right, by the law. The next one along is the teacher, Lindsay Barr, from Georgia. And in 2022, elementary school library, and he opposed gay fairy tales to be put in the library, but he was fired. Excuse me. Then a judge, Richard Page in the UK, in 2015, same-sex couples are not suitable for adoption. He ruled, but he said better to have both parents, male and female, but he was fired. And then social exclusion, isolation, condemnation, threats. Then the pastor from the US refused to officiate same-sex weddings, and he faced up to 180 days in jail and $1,000 fine per day. This is 2014. So you see, as we have seen in our own countries, in Australia and New Zealand, and other places, particularly in more Western so-called advanced countries, we see this happening a lot. Real struggle going on. And then one of the key characteristics of sexual mainstreaming is the deconstruction of gender. Point number one. Icon of sexual mainstreaming is the spread of homosexuality through inclusion and tolerance. So there's education on gender identity rights, authenticity and diversity, the prohibition of gender discrimination and what they call hate speech. There you have the rainbow flag, symbol of the LGBT movement. So most affected victims are children and adolescents. So one of the interesting cases was Musk, Elon Musk. His first son wanted to transition from being a boy to being a girl, being female. And so we see that was a big story. Some of you probably have heard of it and were aware of it. 2020 gender transition surgery. He changed his her name was Vivian Jenner Wilson. The Wilson is the name of the mother. And Musk was sort of against it, but he was isolated. And Elon Musk's child, formerly known as Xavier Alexander Musk, legally changed the name and gender from male to female in 2022 at the age of 18. Now known as Vivian Jenner Wilson, she took her mother's maiden name and stated in court filings that she no longer wished to be related to her biological father in any way, shape, or form. Yeah. So the impact of gender mainstreaming on future generations, the exposure to crime is one of the key impacts of this gender mainstreaming. March 2020, a high school in Wisconsin, United States, incident of sexual assault in a gender-neutral restroom. Closure of gender-neutral restrooms was the result. And then swimming athlete sets a wet record after transitioning from male to female. But this is a big issue. It's emerged out of this gender mainstreaming. And of course, there's been a reaction. Good example is of course the current Trump presidency. Anti-transgender laws passed in the US House for the first time. 2 Democrats also supported it. So, to quote, men should not hit female athletes. Trump issues executive order banning transgender women from competing, prohibiting participation in the 2028 LA Olympics on February the 6th, 2025, just a year ago. So this is sexualization. This is the kind of education going on in school, even in primary school. The sexualizing of the non-sexual, emphasizing individuals with sexual rights. Observe, touch, and consume. Abolition of all sexual taboos. So German, the International Family Federation, that's not us. School, kindergarten, and education. So parent planning, this is sort of all this kind of push for the sexualization of young kids, even just kindergarten kids, and primary kids. And then these kind of public education, through the public education system, they talk about, all kinds of stuff that was never talked about before, of course, and shouldn't be talked about at all. So it's to do with sexual pleasure, sexual orientation. All sexual relations, including anal sex, oral sex, are normal. Sexual rights, public education, teaches masturbation methods, all this kind of stuff, right? So it's to do with this Marcuse, this kind of this new neo-Marxism at the base. So there's a school, Oldenwald School, something like that, in Germany, representative, progressive and anti-authoritarian experimental school. So this is a symbolic school of the German left wing and progressive education, influenced by educators worldwide, referenced by educators worldwide, anti-authoritarian, non-hierarchical education, autonomy, unsuppressed human relationships, minimal rules, sex education that reduces taboos. So they emphasized openness in emotional and physical expression. And over decades, more than 130 students and more than 7 teachers were subjected to sexual abuse. This was exposed by graduates in 1998 through victim testimonies and internal documents and media reports, and extreme left-wing discourse, they're saying that children are sexual beings, and radical sexual ideology allowed child sexual abuse for decades. This was German in shock. And so the school was closed in 2015, fairly recently, actually. Excuse me. So the foundation of Marxism. Marx's theory of historical materialism, which views the development of human society as a progress of class struggle, and the theory of surplus labor, which explains the exploitation structure of capitalism, became the foundation of the socialist revolution in, of course, Soviet Union. And then the Communist Manifesto, spectre is haunting Europe, the spectre of communism. So Communist Manifesto, Marx, Engels, Communist League, 1884, became the theoretical foundation for the socialist revolutionary movement and greatly influenced the world. So this was, of course, Marx and Engels' communist theory, if you like. However, now it's moved on towards this other neo-Marxist style, and bringing about things like family disintegration. Of course, Marx thought the family was an instrument of oppression as well. So we see that domestic partnerships laws, where recognition of partnership system, it's not just a husband and wife and kids as the family, but it's like a civic solidarity contract in France, legalization of same-sex marriage, recognition of multiple sexes, polygamy, polymorphy, the collapse of monogamy. So this is really where this ideology is heading, and amazingly effectively. Also, the deconstruction of religion, post-religious era, planning for the post-Christian age. A society through obscenity, deconstruction of religion, God's principles of creation, deconstruction of authority. So this is really the aim of this whole trend. Also, a bit more recently, portraying Jesus as a homosexual. June 2015 in Sao Paulo, LGBT rally in Brazil, blasphemy, appropriating Jesus as a symbol of the homosexual movement. So the first temptation of Christ. Netflix animation, House of Flowers presents The Funeral. Controversy over depiction of Jesus, Mexico. Korea Family Counseling Research. That's the what the organization this presenter is representing. Family Counseling Research Institute. So really, when we look at it in this way, we can see that it's it's a war of ideologies connected with love, sex, life, lineage, family, and adolescence. So on the left, of course, Satan's side is advocating atheism, no God, no rules really, humanism, and socialism, developed into neo-Marxism. On the other side, we have God, theism, We have theocentrism, that God is the center of our lives and our community and relationships, and liberal democracy. So this war of ideology. Then she goes into a little bit more detail about homosexuality. And she says that definition of homosexuality: sexual attraction towards the same sex, sexual relations with the same sex, sexual identity as a homosexual. That's kind of like definition that she gives. Causes of homosexuality: one is family environmental factors, another is experiential factors, and the other is socio-cultural factors. So from the family environment factors, parents' incorrect gender role models, unstable gender identity formation in childhood. In terms of the experiential factors, incorrect sexual experiences, physical elements of the opposite sex, such as appearance, voice, body type. So, we know that sometimes pedophilia occurs in little boys and, so of course, little girls, but they have experiences which drive them towards homosexuality. Socio-cultural factors, influence of the culture, such as movies, webtoons, novels, pornography, the social climate that accepts homosexuality. Excuse me. Until now, the genitalia has served as a weapon of Satan. This is words of Father, I believe, if he gave on August the 1st, 1996, Hilton Hotel, USA. Until now, the genitalia has served as a weapon of Satan. Therefore, God has despised it until now. How shall we liberate the sexual organ? There, God will arrive. God is the master of the sexual organ. So, yeah, like of course, in Christianity and previous religious history, often, you don't talk about the sexual parts. You just, it's kind of like a naughty, but now Father, particularly in the 1990s, really started to talk about absolute sex and so on. So he's actually led the way towards liberating the sexual organ, to bring it back towards God and God's understanding and the true understanding of the sexual organ. Is homosexuality innate, as part of the genetics of a person? Homosexuality is not innate. It is acquired. There's no homosexual gene. December 2018. This is the research taking place. This is the largest scale study related to the genetics of homosexuality. Total of 477,522 genomes, entire genes, were recompared and analysed. It is certain that there is no single gene that determines homosexuality. This was the result of this extensive study. And the concordance rate of homosexuality in identical twins, of course, identical twins have identical, genetic makeup. So, but in terms of if one of them is homosexual, only approximately 10% of the other one is. So it's definitely not genetic. So free sex. Who coined the term? This is from Father again. Who coined the term of free sex? Did God create it? No, it's a term devised by Satan to completely destroy the heavenly kingdom. What is homosexual? Who created this? What is lesbian? Who invented that? One must recognize that it is Satan, through cunning schemes, who has fundamentally shattered God's ideals and humanity's ideals. Do you understand what I mean? Yes. This is Father very strong, actually, about homosexuality and lesbianism. The risks of the male homosexual acts. Hepatitis A is spread through homosexuals. And this is from the Medical Journal, the World Health Organization Gay Festival Hepatitis A warning. This was 2017. I think this was in Spain, the Madrid Gay Festival in Spain. The World Health Organization recently warned that hepatitis A outbreak would worsen during Gay Pride Festival periods. from June 2016 to mid-May 2017, an unusual increase in hepatitis A infections was reported among men who have sex with men, and in Europe, in the United States, and in Chile. So homosexual acts increase the risk of hepatitis A spread. Risk of male homosexual act. Exposure to various types of hepatitis A, hepatitis B, hepatitis C. So blood donors, of course, so certain places, certain countries don't allow blood donations from homosexuals because of this increased risk of the spread of these diseases. How many countries have a complete ban? United Kingdom, Germany, Austria, Belgium, Brazil, Denmark, Norway, Canada, South Korea, and more than 30 other countries. So there you go. There's a reason for that, of course, because there's much higher risk of the blood from those homosexual donors containing these diseases. Major cause of AIDS infection among homosexuals. This is AIDS related. So in 2015, 2.1 million infected with HIV, 1.2 million deaths related to HIV. So this is an analysis. I'm not really sure how this works. It's a kind of Korean study. But you can see that in the middle one there, 2016 HIV AIDS statistics, most of them were male. 95% of the people with AIDS were male and only 6% female. And anyway, this is kind of like, it says here on the right-hand, among domestic AIDS patients aged 18 to 29, the rate of sexual contact among homosexual, bisexual individuals. So anyway, basically they're indicating that that AIDS infection is much higher with homosexual contact. So regarding the disease of homosexuality, is discussing this discriminatory? Yeah, that's right. So even a discussion of it is kind of quashed. You're not allowed to speak about it. So this is all a result of this kind of social conditioning that's taken place. This is an interesting one. It's a homosexual's handwritten petition for the Lawyers Forum for Freedom and Unification petition from a man in his 30s who contracted AIDS due to sexual activity between men. So he says the following. This is his brother who got AIDS. I have never heard through the media or lectures that sexual activity between men is a risky route for HIV infection. On the contrary, I heard reports and lectures stating that homosexuality has no connection to AIDS. As a result, I came to think that homosexuality and AIDS were completely unrelated, and eventually I became infected with AIDS through homosexual sexual relations between men. The confusion and despair I have experienced since learning from the infection are beyond words. However, what I have recently come to know is that due to the press guidelines of the National Human Rights Commission of Korea, no one is allowed to disclose the fact that homosexual sexual relations between men are the main route for AIDS infections. This is something that is extremely wrong. This must be corrected. The fact that a national institution, the National Human Rights Commission, is hiding the correct truth at the request of homosexual organizations is causing many young people in Korea to become AIDS patients. I want to correct this wrongdoing. So December 2015. So you see the pressure, on what you can say, what you can't say, even if it's true, Yeah, through these homosexual pressure groups. So issues connected with also conversion therapy. This is definitely related to Australia and New Zealand, but other countries as well. So, maybe 15 years ago, I remember going to organization in Sydney called Exodus, going along to some of their meetings. There was one or two others like it. And you know, what would happen if somebody have homosexual inclinations, these organizations would help them to transition out, mainly from a religious perspective, I think, in many cases. But they're banned now, you know, like you can't even do that now. So let's have a look at this. New Zealand, February 15, 2022, up to 3 years imprisonment for conversion therapy on minors under 18. In Australia, August 14, 2020, law passed imposing up to 18 months imprisonment for homosexual conversion therapy. In Mexico, 2 to 5 years imprisonment and 50 to 100 hours of community service if caught performing gender conversion therapy. So, you know, this gender affirmation, changing one's gender to differ from biological sex, is encouraged and supported, whereas conversion therapy is saying that, look, somebody who doesn't want it, you know, they have these homosexual inclinations, they don't want it, can they get counseling to help them overcome? No. So in these places. So helping someone return to their original gender is punished and prohibited. So gender ideologists advocate that changing one's gender is right, while defining efforts to return to one's original gender is a crime. This seriously violates individual choice and the right to receive treatment. This is just crazy, but this is the way it's happening, you know. These laws are being passed in our parliaments, you know, as we go forward. So countries with conversion therapy ban laws. As of January 2025, 28 countries have implemented conversion therapy bans. So there's complete ban in 13 countries, ban for medical professionals in 8 countries, indirect ban in 7 countries. So among the 13 countries with complete bans, approximately 10 countries, have also implemented comprehensive anti-discrimination laws, equality laws, hate crime laws. This shows that conversion therapy bans are not implemented in isolation, but as part of a comprehensive legal framework protecting LGBT rights. So when you see these laws signed, you know, anti-discrimination, equality laws, hate laws, you know, you have to examine them extremely carefully, because really behind it is this comprehensive legal framework protecting LGBT rights and so forth. This was a video we saw during the lecture. This is a young American, I think. He was very much tied up in the LGBT community, and his life was really miserable. And so he was young, just like a teenager, and he was caught up in a church which really helped him. And he just testifying how much this church helped him, and he came to Jesus, and he was able to get out of his circumstance and change his life and find meaning in his life. So that he spoke in English, and that was a part that really helped him there on the right. Okay, so sex cannot be changed. Have on the left, lady, and right, a man there. The male has every single cell, and there's trillions of them, has an XY chromosomes. So this is the male characteristics, determines the male characteristics, whereas the woman has XX. So every single cell in her body has XX chromosomes in the nucleus. The female character are determined by this. So sex change surgery is merely mimicking the appearance of external sexual organs. Internal sexual organs, erogenous zone, cannot be changed. So, you know, you can't change every single sex. You can't have even one cell of all the cells we have. You can't change it from a male cell to a female or back the other way. It's impossible. So males exhibit higher skeletal structure, endurance, explosiveness, grip strength, muscular strength than females. And so here we have the testing of that with the grip strength, the upper body strength, the lower body strength. This is based on, the figure is based on setting a man under the same condition as 100, whereas you have the girl, grip strength is only 57, not 100, only 57, and then 48 for the upper body strength and 73 for the lower body strength. So, and this is for a high school girl, normal women, they're those figures, woman athlete, those figures. So you can see there's a marked difference between male and female in those basic characteristics. So the male is the XY sex chromosomes, genetic information that determines the male. Oops, sorry, go back. Genetic information that determines the male characteristics, whereas the female XX sex chromosomes, genetic information that determines her female characteristics. So that's what they're competing against, try to change these things you can't. Gender differences are innate. The reality of occupational gender difference based on biological innate characteristics and differences. So the males who are extremely obsessive with material phenomenon, this is Norway, number one in the Gender Equality Index. STEM field engineer, male, this is kind of engineering. This is occupational, right? So 90% of males, 10% of females. This is in this particular engineering field, right? See the muscly guy, the things he's doing, and what he's interested in. He's interested in material phenomena. Whereas females who are very interested in relationships with others, they're more, in terms of their careers, they tend to more to be nurturing field. Females, 90% in the care area, like nursing and so on, whereas males is 10%. So the differences of sex differences are reflected in the occupations. That's what they're saying, basically. So what is equality? Treat same things the same and different things differently. So male and female, relationship of correspondence, harmony, and cooperation brings about wholeness. So you don't have to be the same. It's not like you don't have exactly the same. It's like respect the differences, right? Treat same things the same, but different things differently. Yeah. It's got there a urinal at the top. I guess these are female toilets. Yeah, different, right? Wouldn't be any good putting these in the female toilet, right? Okay. So homosexual contradicts natural law. Within law, safety and freedom exist. So, this is reflected in nature. So basically the law here is saying, you got to cross the road at this crossing. You can't just cross it elsewhere. You got to stop when the red light goes. You can go when it goes green. Now this is law, but that law brings safety. It brings freedom to exist, right? And to keep functioning properly and in order to be happy. So this one, let's have a read through this. This was an interesting part of the lecture. Overview of the three-stage structure of creation. She said the stage one phase of construction was Jongsong, stillness of origin. Internal establishment of creation, purpose and principles, settlement of intangible principles. So this is like where God figured out how he was going to create, under which laws, so it's a period of stillness, meaning that just sort of God is thinking, but he hasn't done anything yet. He's just figuring it out. I guess that's what it said. So the second stage is Dongsong, dynamic development, the organization of substantial reality within space and time, establishment of the vertical, horizontal, and front-back relationships. That's the next one, stage 3, the air song, love-based union, substantial union centered on love, unity of God, humanity, and the universe. So I guess each stage corresponds to preparation, development, and completion, 3 stages, of development. Origin, division, union, that kind of thing as well. So the process which
Greg,
got, yeah.
Yeah, we're pretty much out of time.
Oh my goodness. Sorry. Thank you for telling me. Okay, well, if you're interested, I can continue this later. That's a good slide to finish on for this particular.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you.
Stop sharing. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Thanks very much, Greg, for sharing that. It brings back a lot of memories sitting there during that and being quite surprised by a lot of the information she shared, and that we have this great institute that's really working on giving clarity on that. And I think it's because of Father's desire for us to understand what really is absolute sex and how it's been totally confused. And you certainly need rules to live by. If you don't have rules, then you have anarchy, and then anarchy brings about the problems we see already expressed. So thank you, everyone. I don't know if we are really out of time. And so maybe next time we can to discuss. I'll just share the screen and we can offer our unison prayer and conclude. So I'll just do that. Bring up the screen. Okay, so let's pray together. Thank you. Jew, Jew, Jew. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Reverend Stone, for sharing. And thank you all. And it's good to be back in Australia. Got a bit of a cold, but all good. Thank you, Jeff, for helping out for the last few days or weeks. Thank you.
Thank you.
And yeah, hope everyone has a great day and see you all again tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Greg. Stay well.
Thank you.